Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare wheat pennies. These classic coins hold an incredible history, and some are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest varieties, their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're going deep into the world of American coinage to uncover a small but mighty piece of history, the 1945 wheat penny. Now, this isn't just any old coin you'd find at the bottom of a change jar. This humble little penny could actually be hiding a secret that makes it incredibly rare and astonishingly valuable. In fact, one specific version of the 1945 wheat penny is worth more than some brand new cars. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why.so if you're a coin enthusiast, a history buff, or just someone who loves the thrill of turning pocket change into pure gold, figuratively speaking. You're going to want to listen closely, because today's story is one you don't want to miss. Let's start with what makes the 1945 wheat penny so iconic. This coin comes from a time when the United States and the world was emerging from the chaos of World War II. It was a period of change, resilience, and rebuilding. And tucked into that moment of history is this 1-cent piece, minted in the billions, but with just a few hiding secrets that can take its value from 1 cent to jaw-dropping figures. The coin itself features the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that had already become a beloved part of American currency since 1909. The reverse side displays 2 wheat stalks curving around the words 1 cent and United States of America. Simple, classic, and deeply symbolic of the American spirit. That's why collectors around the world love wheat pennies. But not all wheat pennies are created equal. Now, here's where things get really exciting. The 1945 wheat penny is not rare in general. In fact, over 1 billion were produced across 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You'll know the difference by checking just under the date. A D means it was minted in Denver, and S for San Francisco. And if there's no mint mark at all, it came from Philadelphia. But here's the twist. Some 1945 wheat pennies contain rare and valuable minting errors, and it's those tiny imperfections that transform an ordinary coin into a highly prized collectible. But let's talk about double die errors. These are perhaps the most exciting for collectors. A double die error happens during the minting process when the coin design is stamped twice at slightly different angles. This creates a dramatic doubling effect on letters or numbers. On a 1945 wheat penny, if you see doubling in the word liberty, the phrase "in God we trust," or in the numbers of the date itself, you could be looking at something incredibly special. Then there's the off-center strike. Sometimes the coin blank wasn't perfectly aligned during minting, and the result is a coin that looks like part of it is missing or shifted. These errors vary in rarity based on how off-center the coin is. The more dramatic and well-preserved the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. You might also come across what's called a clipped planchet. That means the coin was cut improperly, resulting in a crescent-shaped chunk missing from the edge. If the clip doesn't interfere with important parts of the design and the coin is in good shape, collectors will pay good money for it. And let's not forget about the really wild finds: coins that were struck on the wrong metal planchet. Now, most 1945 wheat pennies were made of copper and zinc. But on rare occasions, due to an error, a penny might have been struck on a silver dime blank, or even a foreign coin blank. These are exceptionally rare, but when they show up, they fetch sky-high prices at auctions. Condition matters, too. A 1945 wheat penny that's been through decades of wear and tear probably won't bring in much. But a coin in uncirculated condition, that is, one that looks as fresh as the day it was minted, can multiply in value many times over. Look for a coin with no scratches, strong detail in Lincoln's hair and beard, clear wheat stalks on the reverse, and a vibrant coppery red tone. That's the kind of penny collectors dream of finding. Now here's a tip that every coin lover should follow. Get your rare coins professionally graded. Services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate your coin, verify any errors, and assign it a grade that reflects its condition. A coin that's verified and graded will always command more interest and higher offers from serious collectors. You might be wondering, if billions of these pennies were made, how can mine be rare? The truth is, It's not about how many were made, but how many still exist in top condition and how many contain those rare and valuable minting mistakes. Think about how many pennies got worn down, scratched, bent, or lost over the years. Very few survived in mint state, and even fewer contain those fascinating, valuable errors. So the next time you come across a 1945 wheat penny, don't toss it aside. Take a few minutes to examine it closely. Look at the date under a magnifying glass. Check the edges for clipping. Inspect for doubling in the text. Even a tiny error could mean the difference between a regular coin and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors aren't just after money, they're after stories. A coin like the 1945 wheat penny carries history in its metal. It's a relic of a time when the world was healing, when resources were tight, and when the smallest mistakes became the rarest wonders. Every coin tells a story, but some whisper secrets worth listening to. And some, like the one we're talking about, speak in the language of rare and remarkable value. So, are you ready for the big reveal? A 1945 wheat penny, in perfect condition, with a rare mint error, such as a double die or off-metal strike, was once sold for a mind-blowing $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent turned into $79,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the power of knowing what to look for. And that's why this hobby isn't just fun. It can be incredibly rewarding. So start looking. Open that old coin jar. Check your grandparents' collections. Visit flea markets, yard sales, or antique shops. You never know where your own hidden treasure might be waiting. Top 2, we're going to take a journey back in time to explore a coin that might be sitting in your pocket change or hiding in an old family drawer, the 1950 wheat penny. But don't be fooled by its humble appearance. Because behind this small copper coin is a story filled with history, mystery, and value far beyond its face. You might be thinking, it's just a penny. How valuable could it really be? Well, buckle up, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why collectors around the world are on the hunt for this particular coin. And stay with us until the end, because we're going to reveal the shocking price that one rare version of the 1950 wheat penny has sold for. And trust me, it's not what you expect. So, let's rewind the clock to 1950. America was thriving after World War II. Soldiers had returned home. The economy was booming, and the country was entering a new age of innovation and prosperity. During this time, the U.S. Mint continued to produce one of its most iconic coin designs, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. And while billions of pennies were minted throughout the Wheat Series era, the 1950 version has caught the attention of collectors for some pretty exciting reasons. Now, let's break down the basics of the coin. On the front, you've got Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, a tribute to one of America's greatest presidents. And on the back, you'll find 2 stylized wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. Simple, elegant, and a classic design that captures the spirit of America's agricultural and economic roots. But here's where things get interesting. The 1950 wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin has no mint mark below the date, it came from Philadelphia. If there's a little D, it was struck in Denver. And if you see an S, that means it was made in San Francisco. While the majority of these coins were produced in large numbers, a few slipped through the cracks with unusual characteristics. And those are the ones that have become legends in the coin collecting world. What makes some of these 1950 wheat pennies so incredibly valuable? Let's talk about errors. Those beautiful, accidental masterpieces that the mint never intended. Coin collectors are fascinated by errors because they make each coin unique. And some of the most sought-after errors occurred in 1950. One of the most famous types is the double die error. This happens when the coin die, the tool used to strike the design onto the blank metal disc, shifts between strikes, creating a slightly doubled image. If you look at a 1950 penny and notice that the letters in Liberty or the numbers in the date appear doubled or shadowed, you might be looking at a valuable double die. Next, we have off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where the design is not quite where it's supposed to be. Maybe Lincoln's face is shifted to the side, or part of the words are missing from the edge. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more rare and collectible the coin becomes. These errors are easy to spot and exciting to find. Another rare error is the clipped planchet. During the minting process, Coin blanks are punched out of large sheets of metal. Sometimes, a blank gets clipped too close to the edge, resulting in a coin that looks like it's missing a chunk, as if someone took a small bite out of it. If the rest of the design is intact and the coin is in good condition, these can bring in serious money from collectors. And then there are the rarest of the rare, coins that were struck on the wrong planchet altogether. A planchet is the metal disc a coin is struck on, and sometimes a coin intended to be a penny ends up getting stamped on a dime blank or a foreign coin blank. These mismatches are extremely rare, but when they happen, they can send a coin's value through the roof. Now here's the part that every collector knows. Condition is everything. A coin that's been in circulation, passed from hand to hand, might be fun to look at, but it probably won't bring in much more than its face value. But if your 1950 wheat penny has that original copper shine, with no scratches, no discoloration, and crisp detail in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks, then you've got something special. To make sure your coin is worth top dollar, consider having it professionally graded. Grading services like PCGS and NGC will assess your coin's authenticity, verify any errors, and assign a condition grade. That grading certificate can mean the difference between a good sale and a great one, and it gives collectors confidence that they're buying a legitimate piece of numismatic history. What makes the 1950 wheat penny even more special is that it's from the tail end of the wheat penny era. By 1959, the reverse design changed to the Lincoln Memorial, marking the end of the classic wheat ears design. So every wheat penny from the late 1940s and early 1950s carries a bit more nostalgia, a bit more history, and a lot more collector interest. That it's not just about value. Collectors love these coins for what they represent. A post-war America full of hope and progress. A simple copper coin that passed through countless hands, carrying with it stories and memories from a different time. So, if you've got a 1950 wheat penny lying around, don't underestimate it. Pull out a magnifying glass. Check the date. Look for doubling. Examine the edges. Check for off-center designs or anything unusual, because sometimes the rarest treasures are the ones we overlook every day. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One very special 1950 wheat penny, in pristine, uncirculated condition and featuring a rare minting error, was once sold to a collector for an astounding $76,000. That's right, $76,000 for a 1-cent coin. So the next time you're digging through spare change or flipping through an old coin album, keep your eyes open, because what looks like a common penny might just be your ticket to something extraordinary. Top 3, we're diving into the fascinating world of one of America's most famous pennies, the 1944 wheat penny. It's a tiny copper coin, easy to overlook, but in some cases, it could be worth far more than you'd ever imagine. Now, don't blink, because that old penny hiding in your drawer, tucked away in a jar, or mixed in with spare change might just be worth a small fortune. And in today's video, we're going to reveal exactly why the 1944 wheat penny has become a legend in the world of coin collecting. To understand what makes this coin so special, we first need to rewind to the year 1944. The world was still in the grip of World War II. The United States was in full swing supporting the war effort, and every material, from steel to copper, was being carefully managed and rationed. The U.S. Mint had already made major changes to coin production the year before, in 1943, by temporarily switching from copper to steel for pennies. That's why 1943 pennies are famously silver-colored. But in 1944, copper was back. The war was nearing its end, and the Mint resumed production of copper cents. However, not everything went smoothly during that transition. And that's where the story of the 1944 wheat penny starts to get very interesting. Let's start with the design. The front, or obverse, features the profile of Abraham Lincoln, a strong and steady symbol of American unity. It's a design we've all seen countless times. The reverse, however, holds that classic wheat ears motif, 2 curved stalks wrapping around the words 1 cent and United States of America. It's clean, elegant, and a tribute to America's agricultural roots. Now, here's what every collector needs to know. Not all 1944 wheat pennies are created equal. Yes, millions were minted. In fact, it was one of the most widely produced pennies of the wheat series. But hidden among those millions are rare versions with incredible mistakes, minting errors, that make them wildly valuable. So, what kind of errors are we talking about? Let's start with the most famous one, the 1944 steel cent. You see, in 1943, pennies were made from zinc-coated steel due to copper shortages. But in 1944, when copper returned to the mix, some leftover steel blanks accidentally made their way back into the minting machines. That means a small number of 1944 pennies were struck on steel planchets by mistake. These are exceptionally rare, and they are the holy grail for collectors. If you ever find a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, don't ignore it. You might be holding a life-changing discovery. Next, let's talk about off-metal strikes. There are 1944 wheat pennies known to have been struck on foreign coin blanks. That's right, blanks meant for coins from countries like Belgium or the Netherlands ended up being used for US pennies. These coins look a bit off in size, color, or weight, and that's exactly what makes them rare. And then, of course, there are the double die errors. This happens when the coin die, the part of the machine that stamps the design onto the coin, shifts slightly between impressions. The result? A doubled image on the letters or numbers. On the 1944 penny, a double die error might show up in the word liberty, in the motto, "In God We Trust," or even in the date itself. These small imperfections are a big deal in the collector world. Another fascinating error is the off-center strike. That's when the blank isn't properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be pushed off to one side. The more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. Clip planchets are yet another variety of mint error that can be found on 1944 wheat pennies. These coins are literally missing a piece, as if someone snipped a corner off. It's a rare mistake, but a real attention grabber for collectors. But let's not forget that even without errors, a 1944 wheat penny in uncirculated or mint condition is still highly desirable. Coins that haven't been touched, scratched, or worn down over decades are extremely rare. Most pennies have been through pockets, cash registers, and who knows how many hands. So, finding a 1944 penny in pristine, untouched condition is like striking copper gold. If you think you found a rare version of this coin, your first step should be to get it evaluated by a professional. Reputable grading services like PCGS or NGC will examine your coin, check its authenticity, verify any mint errors, and assign it a grade based on its condition. And here's the best part. Professionally graded coins typically sell for much more on the open market. A simple penny can turn into a major payday when it's certified and verified. Now here's something to remember, coin collecting isn't just about money. It's about history. It's about holding a piece of the past in your hand. Every scratch, every shine, every mark tells a story. And the 1944 wheat penny is packed with stories of wartime America, of changing resources, of minting mistakes and industrial miracles. That's why coin lovers, hobbyists, and even new collectors are drawn to these coins. Imagine the journey of a 1944 penny. From the factory floor of the US mint to a soldier's pocket in Europe. From a cash register in a post-war diner to an old coffee can in someone's attic. And maybe, just maybe, to your hands today. That's not just a coin. That's living history. So the next time you're going through some old coins, don't just glance over the pennies. Look closely. Feel the weight. Check the date. Test with a magnet. Because the 1944 wheat penny might look ordinary, but it's anything but. And now, the part you've been waiting for. One exceptionally rare 1944 wheat penny, in uncirculated condition and featuring one of these legendary mint errors, has been sold to a collector for an astonishing $72,000. Yes, $72,000 for a single penny. That's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors excited, keeps treasure hunters digging, and turns an ordinary coin into an extraordinary find. So go ahead, check your change. Go through those old jars. Revisit the coin collection sitting forgotten in a box. Because the next great discovery might be right in your hands. Top 4, we're going to take a closer look at 1954 wheat penny. And we will uncover the reasons why collectors everywhere are chasing it down like buried treasure. Now, before you rush off to dump out every penny jar in your house, hear me out. Because not every 1954 wheat penny is valuable. In fact, most of them are worth just what they say, 1 cent. But, as with many things in life, it's the rare few that break the mold and surprise us. And for those who know what to look for, a regular coin can turn into something truly extraordinary. Let's take a step back in time to the year 1954. It was a time of post-war growth in the United States. The economy was booming, families were settling into suburban life, and the U.S. Mint was running full speed to produce the coins that kept daily life moving. Among those coins was the humble wheat penny, a staple in everyone's pocket, wallet, and cash register. The 1954 Wheat Penny featured the classic design introduced back in 1909. The solemn portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, and on the back, the instantly recognizable twin wheat stalks curving around the words 1 cent and United States of America. It's simple, it's elegant, and it carries a sense of American history that coin collectors just can't resist. In 1954, the mint produced these pennies in 3 locations: Philadelphia, which had no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. Altogether, hundreds of millions of these coins were made. But here's where things start to get interesting. Not all of these coins came out exactly as intended. And that's where the value hides, and the imperfections point. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is the world of mint errors. These are mistakes made during the coin production process, and believe it or not, those mistakes can make a coin significantly more valuable. In the case of the 1954 Wheat Penny, a few key errors and unusual variations have made specific examples of this coin extremely sought after. First up, double die errors. This happens when the die, the tool that stamps the design onto the coin, impresses the image twice, but slightly misaligned. It creates a sort of shadow or doubling effect, particularly visible in areas like the date, the word, liberty, or even Lincoln's eye in profile. If you have a 1954 penny and notice that something looks a little doubled, don't toss it aside. You could be holding a valuable piece. Next is the off-center strike. Every coin is supposed to be perfectly aligned when it's struck, but sometimes the blank planchet, that's the disc of metal, is off by just a bit or a lot. When the design doesn't land where it should, you get what's known as an off-center error. Depending on how far off it is and how much of the design is still visible, these coins can be worth hundreds or thousands. There are also clipped planchet errors. These are coins where a portion is literally missing because the metal blank was improperly cut before the design was struck. It almost looks like someone took a bite out of the coin. These mistakes are rare and incredibly appealing to collectors who love oddities and one-of-a-kind finds. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. Some 1954 Wheat Pennies were accidentally struck on the wrong kind of metal. This is called an off-metal strike. A coin might have been intended to be a penny but was instead struck on a dime blank or even on a foreign coin planchet. These kinds of errors are exceptionally rare and usually not discovered until much later. The minute a collector or grading service confirms an off-metal strike, the value of that penny skyrockets. Of course, condition matters too. A coin that's heavily worn, scratched, or discolored isn't going to command much attention. But a coin that has been perfectly preserved for decades, we're talking about crisp details, a smooth surface, original luster, that's what collectors call uncirculated or mint state. A 1954 penny in this condition is already desirable, but when combined with a mint error, that's when the big money starts rolling. And it's moments like these that make coin collecting so thrilling. Think about it. A coin that's over half a century old, used in everyday purchases, passed through countless hands, could turn out to be a hidden gem. And even if you don't find a rare error right away, just knowing what to look for makes every coin hunt a little adventure. For new collectors out there, here's a tip. Always check your pennies, especially those from the 1940s and 1950s. Get a magnifying glass, a magnet, to test for unusual metals, and a scale. Learn to recognize what's normal so that when you find something strange, it jumps out at you. And if you ever think you've found a winner, maybe a double die, an off-center strike, or a coin that just feels different, don't guess. Get it graded. Send it to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll verify it, assign it a grade, and certify it. That grading adds major credibility and can massively increase its value if you ever decide to sell. Because when the stars align, when you find a rare error, in excellent condition, and it's professionally certified, that's when your penny stops being a penny and becomes something far greater. So now, let's bring this journey full circle. Among the rarest and most prized examples of the 1954 Wheat Penny, those struck with significant minting errors, preserved in stunning condition, and verified by experts, one was sold at auction for an incredible amount. And that amount was none other than $69,000. That's right. A single 1954 penny, a coin that started as 1 cent, ended up being worth $69,000. Just imagine that. One little coin, forgotten in a box or jar, suddenly becoming more valuable than a luxury car. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the thrill of the hunt. And that's why collectors all around the world are still searching, still studying, and still hoping that the next rare find is right around the corner. So don't ignore your pennies. Look at them closely. Study their surfaces. You never know what history or what fortune might be hiding in plain sight. Top 5, we're taking a journey into one of the most underrated coins in American pocket change, the 1957 Wheat Penny. Now, you might be thinking, it's just another penny. But stick with me, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you look at that little coin forever. You see, in the world of coin collecting, not everything is as it seems. Some of the most valuable coins aren't gold or silver. They're not even rare in the traditional sense. Sometimes, the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight, like this 1-cent coin from 1957 that could, under the right circumstances, be worth a small fortune. Let's rewind the clock to the late 1950s. Elvis Presley was topping the charts. Gas was just 24 cents a gallon, and America was heading toward the height of the post-war boom. Life was changing fast, but one thing remained the same. The trusty wheat penny was still in production. The 1957 Wheat Penny was one of the last of its kind. Just 2 years later, in 1959, the U.S. Mint would replace the wheat reverse with the Lincoln Memorial design. That makes the 1957 issue part of the final chapter in a coin design that had been around since 1909. Nearly 50 years of history pressed into copper. That on the front of the coin, of course, is the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln. His steady gaze, detailed hair, and iconic profile have made this coin instantly recognizable. On the back, 2 elegant wheat ears curve along the sides, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Below that, the powerful motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. But as familiar as this coin may seem, what lies beneath the surface is far more intriguing. The 1957 Wheat Penny was minted in 2 locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint's coins have no mint mark under the date, while the Denver coins show a small D. In total, over 1 billion pennies were struck that year. So yes, it was a common coin. But not all 1957 wheat pennies are created equal. This is where things get interesting, because in a batch that large, mistakes are bound to happen. And in the world of coin collecting, minting mistakes are often the most valuable kind. Let's start with double die errors. This is one of the most sought-after errors in the hobby. It happens when the die that stamps the coin strikes the blank more than once, but isn't aligned perfectly on the second strike. The result? A doubling of the design, usually visible in the date, the word liberty, or even in the motto, "In God We Trust." If you ever spot a 1957 penny where the numbers look slightly shadowed or the letters look like they're vibrating, that might not be your eyes playing tricks. It could be a double die, and that's a very big deal. Another error that turns heads is the off-center strike. When the blank planchet isn't properly centered in the press, the design ends up off to one side. Sometimes, a coin can be struck with as much as 50% of the design missing. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date, the more valuable it becomes. Then there's the clipped planchet error. Imagine a coin that looks like someone took a small bite out of the edge. That bite-sized chunk is actually a result of the minting process. When 2 blanks are punched too close together, part of the metal ends up missing. These errors are eye-catching and collectible, especially if they don't interfere with key features like the date or mint mark. But perhaps the rarest of all are the wrong planchet errors. These are coins struck on the wrong metal. For example, a penny struck on a dime blank. The coin will be lighter than it should be, smaller, and sometimes the edge will have reading. Those little ridges that aren't supposed to be on a penny at all. These are exceptionally rare, and when they show up in good condition, collectors are willing to pay a serious premium. Of course, condition is everything. A coin that's been bouncing around in pockets for 60 years, worn down by time and handling, won't bring in much. But a coin that's never seen circulation, known as mint state, with bright luster, sharp details, and zero wear, that's a whole different story. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins based on their condition and authenticity. They can spot the tiniest details that might indicate an error or an unusual feature. When a 1957 wheat penny with a significant error is found in mint condition, graded, and slabbed by a respected service, that's when things get really exciting. But here's the thing that makes the 1957 penny even more interesting. Unlike other rare coins that were only minted in small numbers, this one was mass-produced, which means there are still valuable 1957 pennies out there. You could have one right now in a coin jar, a drawer, or an old collection you inherited. You just need to know what to look for and have the patience to go digging. There's something magical about hunting through something ordinary and finding the extraordinary. That's what makes coin collecting more than just a hobby. It's part treasure hunt, part detective work, and part time machine that you're holding a piece of American history. A coin that's seen decades of change. It may have passed through the hands of someone who watched the first moon landing, someone who danced to Elvis, or someone who remembers a time before smartphones and the internet. And maybe, just maybe, it holds a secret that's been waiting to be discovered. So if you come across a 1957 wheat penny, take a closer look. Use a magnifying glass, check for doubling, inspect the edges, weigh it if you can. Look for that mint mark. Don't rush, because sometimes the difference between a common coin and a collector's dream is just a tiny detail. And now for the part you've been waiting for. The value point: one specific 1957 wheat penny, struck with a rare mint error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, was once sold to a private collector for an astonishing amount. That amount was $66,000. That's right, $66,000 for a penny. So don't overlook that little copper coin. Don't dismiss it as pocket change, because in the world of numismatics, even the smallest pieces can carry the biggest surprises. That if you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history and hidden treasures, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another story from the world of coins. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, we've got more mysteries, values, and surprises coming your way. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.